Hello, good morning. It's Sunday Satsang, and Matri and I are sitting here with you. Hello,
There you are.
there I am, and there you are. You can see me over there?
Yes.
Hi, I'll wave at you. Nobody else is there with us yet. Juan is with me. That must be you.
That's me.
Aranka is there. Hi, Aranka. Now it's me and the Dutchies. Anyway, so we're going to talk a little bit about karma yoga, and there's two aspects of that I wanted to mention just a little bit about. There's more to it than two, but one is the sort of, I'm not sure what to call it, the kind of classic way of talking about what do you do with karma yoga. Well, what do you do with your karmas? You do selfless service for other people. You give away the fruits of your actions to others, or you do what you're doing in the name of God, if you like to think in theological terms. And so there's something very much to that's tremendous value. And so come back to that. And the other major way that I want to talk about karma yoga here today is that it means doing yoga, living yoga, the principles, right in the middle of living out karmas. What does the word karma mean? The word karma literally means action. Karma is actions. And so often in common language we talk about karma as if it's something that's happening to me. And so in some popular common language we talk about good karma and bad karma. I've got my good karma coming to me, or I have bad karma coming to me. If pain is coming towards me, I say, well, it's my bad karma. If I have pleasure coming to me, I say, well, it's my good karma. And that is that's quite a misunderstanding of what karma is about. We have to import a different word to go with it. It's very common in Western people. We have imported from yoga and Sanskrit and India the word karma, but more often than not we failed to import the word samskaras. And so it's the samskaras, it's the deep habit patterns, deep in the latent unconscious, that are the driving force that come outward as my attractions and my aversions and my fears and my frustrations. They come outward as actions. So the karma is actually on the surface. If we know that, if we understand that the karma is the actions on the surface out here, and that it's being triggered by the deep samskaras way inside, if we understand that process, then there's no problem with using the word karma and saying, well, it's my karma that's going on, because we know what we're talking about. We know that we're talking about those deep impressions. So when we see it that way, then what do I do with my deep habit patterns that are coming outward as karma? And I have wants and wishes and desires to fulfill, and I do it out in the world in such a way that I'm doing it for the benefit of other people. A classic way to think of it is in terms of your working life, whether you're self-employed or working for a corporation or in a health profession, working for some clinic or something like that. Who are you working for? look how easy it is to say, I hate this job, but I need to pay the bills. Think how common that is. I have to have a job because I have to have money to pay the bills. So who is it that we are working for? We are working for the bill collectors. There's something wrong with that. There's something very off track about that, and I think we all know it. And so, unfortunately, then it's very common we say, well, I'm going to quit this job. I need to go get a better job, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. In living in a couple ashrams, institutes like this, I saw it happen quite a few times, that somebody would want to come. We see it happen here a little bit, not too much because we talk about this stuff so much. But somebody says, I hate my job, I don't want to work there. I want to go to an ashram and wash dishes. Now, if anybody wants to come here and pull weeds in the garden, please come. Come here and do your karma yoga and pull weeds. We're infested with weeds out there, and that would be a wonderful gift to have help pulling weeds. Anyway, but or do dishes. It's funny, but it is a good example. So we say, I hate my job, but I'm going to go to the ashram and I'll be helpful. I'll do karma yoga there by pulling weeds or washing dishes and like this. As I say this, I'm remembering a fellow that I know Swami Rama would tease a little bit, who was a doctor, a very, very financially successful doctor of a certain type of medicine. And he didn't want to do that anymore. He wanted to come to the institute and mow the lawn and be a carpenter and like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we do that out of aversion, it's basically hatred. I dislike that, so I'm going to go somewhere else where I can wash dishes and call it service. That's what service is. And what we're overlooking, if we accidentally fall into that trap, the opportunity that we are missing is, who in my current environment can I direct my efforts towards? I have a life experience of doing that in my 20s, and I stumbled into the principle. It was long before I ever heard of karma yoga or yoga at all. But there was, good morning, Nicholas and Raj. It was during a time where I knew that the kind of work that I was doing did not match what I ultimately wanted to do with my life. I knew that I needed to change something. But, so part of me didn't like what I was doing and wanted to complain internally and feel stressed and run away. But there was a man who I worked for. He was about 25 years my senior, and he was like a mentor to me. He cared for me deeply, and I respected him a lot. And the principle that I stumbled into, and I think this applies to all of us, is this was important to him. It was his career. He was probably about 10 years away from retirement age, and he had a couple children who were of like college age. He needed money, he needed a job, and this whole thing was important to him. And I cared about him. I liked him, I respected him, and I knew that he cared for me. And he gave me a lot of wisdom about how to live in a business world, in the corporation setting where we were. I learned a lot from this man, and I respected him, as I keep saying. And so what happened for me is I reframed the reason for going work. It was very, very yogic, but I didn't know it at the time. It was very much karma yoga. I would get out of bed and go to work during the day because of him. Not because I have to go. It's my job. I'm getting a paycheck, so therefore I have to show up. I went because this stuff is important for him. And I'm going to go to work today to help this one man. And it made all the difference in the world. And the way that I'm saying that, I think that applies to everybody. Hello, Ma, there is no sound, says Hashim. I can't do anything about that.
I told him sometimes you have to unmute in your,
He has to unmute, yeah. yeah, this is just, you're just watching this on a computer. This is not GoToMeeting. So it's a completely different thing. And so I wish Mom maybe has some ideas. I don't. And so you could be watching a YouTube right now or watching a movie online. It's exactly the same situation. You just have to know your own computer and know how to turn your sound on.
Yeah, sometimes.
And
Sandy, I've encountered that people say, "Oh, come and do karma yoga," which means basically volunteer work without money, and that's
yeah,
also a point.
some people say, "Come do karma yoga for me," which means do volunteer work without money.
Yeah, and
without
then
money.
you're doing karma
And that's
yoga.
a misunderstanding of what the word karma yoga is about. That's another good example. I'll go do volunteer work. There I will go do karma yoga because I'm giving away my service.
Yeah.
And karma yoga does not mean you don't get a paycheck, that you have to work for free. Karma yoga means finding a way to do service right in the middle of what you're doing. If you're doing something for a fair market value price for income, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're sitting there feeling like you don't like the work and you're not serving anybody, then you're not being a yogi. The idea, the example I'm using is find somebody in the mix that you're doing it for. I'm doing it for these bosses. I'm doing it for the stockholders, if you happen to think that way. I'm doing it for my clients. I'm doing it for my customers. I had another experience in my late 20s that there was a man wanted me. I was in a commission situation in a marketing firm, and I had a big boss who wanted to fire me because I wasn't going out doing deals the way he wanted business to be run. And he kept threatening to fire me. And the classic was when one day he wanted me to find clients to take them to a golf tournament. I was supposed to take them out and buy them alcohol drinks and take them to a golf tournament, and the company would buy the tickets to the golf tournament. And that is completely not in my nature. And internally, what happened to me, I said, I just accept I'm already fired. I don't work here anymore. To heck with this guy. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I started spending time with some of my existing clients. Names of companies don't matter. But there was one that really sticks in mind, a really huge telecom business that was in Dallas, Texas. And I started talking to some of the people that I knew there that we were already doing some work for. And I just took the approach, I'm going to try to help these people with what they're doing. What a concept. I said, I'm going to try to help these people, and to heck with my boss. And so when he wanted me out knocking on doors, going to office building, knocking on doors, wanted me to leave the office, I would leave and go have a coffee and just ignore this man completely. I just said, I'm out of here internally. And what happened was my telephone started like ringing off the wall. I had more business than I knew what to do with. And it came because I got irritated with this boss. I'm not going to do it for him. I'm going to do it for my customers. And I'm going to do it with a sense of helping them. And I ended up with more business than I knew what to do with. Now, this boss that I had, our company had 5 branches around the country. And it had a total of about 25 people in the account executive job that I was in. And then they had a sales contest going on. And the stupid boss was not keeping track of the numbers. And the sales contest was going through something like December 1st of that year. So it was before Christmas time holiday. He wasn't paying attention to the numbers, and I didn't know the numbers either. I just knew that I went, all of a sudden I'm working 15-hour days, and it was hard, but I was working to help my customers. And I was working, we had a lot of artwork. We did commercial artwork and brochures and presentation support and this kind of activity. And I liked the artists. I liked the commercial artists that were on the staff of where I worked, and they liked me. And so we worked well together trying to come up with what my client wanted. So I'm doing service for the clients, and I'm enjoying the company of the commercial artists. And I remember At one point, I had a big job, and all of a sudden, I got a really fat paycheck. And I went out and bought $50 dinner gift certificates, and I bought like 10 or 12 of them. I spent like $500 on dinner gift certificates, and I gave them to the staff that was doing the work. They were the ones making this happen for my client, and I made a shitload of money off of it, and so I figured I should share it with them. And if I gave them money, it would just be a $50 bill. So I gave them, there was a really good quality, now not healthy food. I think it was a steak restaurant, I'm not sure. And but anyway, like that. And so when the contest results finally came in, I won. And I'm out of like 25 people, I was the top producer. And the man had to acknowledge me as the winner of the contest. And I'm the guy he most wanted to fire. Now, the reason I'm telling you that story is it's a personal experience of stumbling into the principle of service, of doing karma yoga, of doing service for somebody. And the principle applies to all of us. Find somebody in the mix of things that you're spending your time doing stuff for. I'm trying to do stuff for all of you. I'm trying to do stuff for Ma Tree. That's what she's trying to do. So am I putting up with all this craziness going on with this computer because I enjoy solving computer problems? I don't. It drives me sort of crazy. But I do it because it's an instrument, it's a tool. It allows us to be able to do things like this and talk together. So service, find somebody that you're serving. And if you don't have somebody that you're serving, I'm saying that in the context of whatever kind of work you're doing right now. And so, you know, Raj works on airplanes, Hashim works on teeth. And so, you know, where's the attitude? Is it I'm making a big paycheck because I'm working on airplanes and teeth? Or am I involved in the joy of my airplane's going to be flying some people around in my jet? I know you don't own the company, but it's my jet. I'm the guy who's putting the wings on this airplane. I'm the guy who's working on this guy's teeth so he can have a nice, pretty smile and comfortable and all that kind of stuff. Find a way that whatever you're doing that's of service to somebody. And if you're job change or career planning or something like that, pose this question to yourself. It's an old-fashioned question. Who do you want to do what for? Who do you want to do what for? I personally enjoy, I started figuring this out probably 30 years ago, and it's gotten clearer. I still don't have perfect words for it. I like trying to be helpful to those few small percentage of people who are genuinely seeking awakening or true self or self-realization. There's different ways of saying it. But people who are genuinely seeking that, I love to try to be of help in that way. So we have little satsangs like this and all the stuff we do, and been writing articles for years on web pages, and so that's what it's about for me. So all of a sudden, Ma Tree shows up in my life. What else am I going to do? I'm aging. What else am I going to do? Am I going to help her because I'm too busy? Or I say, well, okay, here's who's in front of me. Hi.
Never left.
And she's right over there. And so there's a principle of sort of classic traditional yoga. And it does not mean go somewhere and do volunteer. Nothing wrong with volunteer work. But don't take volunteer work and say, that's my karma yoga that I do on the weekends because I hate my day job that gives me money.
It's the wrong attitude.
Yeah, it's the wrong attitude. And it makes you feel bad because you know that you're working for money. You say, I'm not working for money. They don't pay me enough money. Well, if they were paying you $10 million a year, you say, well, that would be working for money. Well, what if you're making only a little bit of money per hour or per week? You say, I'm not working for money. They don't pay me enough for that. Listen to it carefully. You're working for money. It's just you're working for a very small amount of money, and what's falling to the wayside is the service. Don't forget the service. That's what it's all about in the classic way of talking about karma yoga.
I remember in the first retreat or second retreat when you were coaching someone, what do you want to do? Well,
what do you want? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I need to work. Yeah, for what for? Yeah, for money. You said, duh, we all need to get some money somewhere. So
you have to have money.
That's not the reason why you go to work.
If that's the reason, if that's the reason we go to work, then something is going to be very, very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
Like, of course we need money. There's nothing wrong with making money.
Hi, Rojo. Rojo's here. How are you with us, Rojo? I thought you were in an airplane somewhere. Oh, no, she's here now. She's here waiting. Rojo's a good example. She deals with patients, and there's a lot of people problems in politics, so that's the irritating part. But barely a few days goes by and she comes and tells us some story about some patient that she's done something for, and a patient has come back and said, you know, I saw you a few months ago and you gave me some advice about so and so, and it has changed my life. And thank you very, very much. And so why? Because it's doing the work not for the bosses above me, it's doing the work for those patients. So there's the principle. The other part of this that I wanted to talk about, really, in a sense, most importantly about karma yoga, is to remember to do yoga right in the middle of the playing out of your karmas. So right in the middle of what activities we're doing, are we cultivating the awareness of the center of consciousness? Now, we may not be Buddha or Krishna or Christ, but we can all do this. Am I doing the things to actively try to be aware of the center of consciousness? We keep reading this over and over in the Swami Rama reminders. Constant awareness, cultivate constant awareness of the center of consciousness. How many times have we talked about Om mantra and the levels of waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and Turiya, the fourth state, which is the capital S self, the Atman, the Purusha, the consciousness. Over and over we talk about that. The reason we talk about it is because we're trying to remember it. That's the intent. So how do I do that right in the middle of life? Whether it's my karma with my family, and you're interacting with children or spouse or parents, you know, or it's on the job, or it's driving your car down the road, or you're in the store buying food, you're shopping. How do you go about remembering yoga, union? I am one with that. Atman and Brahman are one. The Father and I are one. All these ways. How do we go about remembering that yoga, that unity, that center of consciousness right in the middle of 100% of my activities? Remember, karma means action. So activities are karmas. Regardless of what activities we're doing in the moment, those are my karmas. They are driven by my samskaras and my habits, but they are my karmas. And so right in the middle of those activities of life, how do I go about remembering yoga? Yoga, as we sometimes playfully say. That's the key the real key to karma yoga, is always remembering, and you get to decide how to hold it. Do you want to hold it in terms of, I'm remembering my center of consciousness, simply meaning the me that's back here behind my senses, behind my mind, behind my habit patterns, behind my ego. There's intelligence and there's consciousness back here. I can hold it like that. Yoga, Raj type in the thing. Yoga. That's a way of doing it. You can do it with remembering the silence after Om. If you think theistically, which is fine, it's not a requirement, you can think, how do I cultivate constant awareness of God? How do you go about doing that? That's the key. Brahmacharya, yeah, the fourth yama, which gets translated as, sometimes as suppressing your senses, often translated as unfortunately suppressing sexual enjoyment. And that's not it. It actually means brahmacharya, means maintaining constant awareness of Brahman. And if we're constantly aware of the unity within all of this tremendous diversity out here, if we're cultivating constant awareness of that unity, of that yoga, if we're doing that, then how much am I going to get sucked into my sensory habit patterns? Not so much, because I'm constantly aware of the unity, that you and I are one. It's that remembrance that underneath it all, there's unity, there's oneness, there's Brahman, there's capital T truth, capital R reality, there's God, there's divinity, there's Divine Mother. There's so many ways to talk about what that is, or simply that. So tat tvamasi, svetaketu, tat tvamasi, tat is that, T-H-A-T in English, but that's what tat means, that, tat tvamasi. Om tat sat, Om tat sat is a reminder, or ought to be, or can be a reminder. Om, that alone is reality called sat, tat, Om, what's that referring to? That which is contained and summarized in and by Om. Om, that, if this is Om, Om tat sat, Om, that is reality. And that's a way of remembering. And that's doing yoga right in the middle of your karmas. I think, this is opinionated, I admit it, I think that we have too much, we people, we have subdivided yoga. Yoga is oneness, it is union, it is totality, and yet we say, oh, I do karma yoga. That person over there, he thinks a lot, so he's a jhana yogi. I sit on my butt and do meditation. I do Raja yoga. I love God, so I do bhakti yoga. I sing kirtans. I like singing songs. I sing in the choir, or I sing kirtans to Indian deities. Therefore, I'm bhakti yoga. Well, bhakti yoga, in the story of the Bhagavad Gita, many people say that within that story, it's explaining the different approaches to yoga. You can do this, or this, or this, or this. I like to observe that in the story, there's only Krishna and there's only one Arjuna. And he does not say to he does not say to Arjuna, you may do this, or this, or this, or this, or this.
I have to choose, and the other one I'm going to keep for myself.
Yeah, and you you do this one, but don't do these others. What he says, read the book. 4 o'clock today, we're going to go through more Bhagavad Gita. What he says is, Arjuna, you need to do this, and then 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 you need to do this. Do this, and this, and this, and this, and together they're all called yoga. And one part of that, even that Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, has to do with karma yoga. But it's not separate from jhana yoga. It's not separate from Raja yoga, and it's not separate from bhakti yoga. Finally, and so here's Leela, and so
also
that's my sales pitch on karma yoga for today. And so I hope it was an enjoyable sales pitch. I don't have anything more to add. Thank you, Ma, for throwing in a few little tidbits there. I sort of got on a roll with this, but I like the subject of karma yoga. And the part of it that just totally turns me on, excites me, is the simple concept, not easy to do, but the simple concept of remembering yoga right in the middle of doing your karmas. In whatever that. Maha yoga. Maha yoga.
Scott calls it Maha yoga. Playfully.
Scott calls it Maha yoga. Some people actually try to use Maha yoga. They call it Maha yoga or Maha Kundalini yoga or Maha Siddha yoga is one of them. There's people say, I do Siddha yoga.
We just do
and then somebody else says, no, I don't do Siddha yoga. I do Maha Siddha yoga. And so all these names get thrown around as if there is diversity. There is diversity, but it's out here on the surface. There's tremendous diversity out here. but underneath it all there is unity. And so, okay, I think it's time we should stop there. And that's my sales pitch on Karma Yoga. And if you type anything in the comments box after this goes up, I will be looking at it and I will respond to anything you want to say. Scott says Maha Traditional Yoga. That's a first, Scott. I love it. I like that a lot. That's playful. That's you know that I have a sort of cynical sense of humor, and you do too, and that's kind of fun. Maha Traditional Yoga. Wow. Maha.
Oh, Guruji, Scott
Oh,
G.
Guruji, yes. Maha Traditional Yoga. Maha Traditional Yoga. That's cool.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you all for playing. And
what's the topic for next week, Swamiji?
What's the topic for next week? I think I already have one written down.
Okay.
Abhyasa and Vairagya
Whoa.
in a particular context, but that will be the cliffhanger.
You're not going to give us a little tidbit?
I'm not going to give you the little. I just did. The tidbit is Abhyasa and Vairagya.
On the edge of my pillow.
On the edge of my pillow. It will be exciting. It will be fun. And we actually have one for the following week, but I'm not going to tell you that cliffhanger yet. You'll have to come next week to find out what the week after that is, or something like that. So thank you all for playing, and please, please experiment with this. And maybe after a day or two, come back and type some comments in the comment box what you are learning from your life about Karma Yoga by attempting to apply the principles of what I've been giving you today in my sales pitch about Karma Yoga. I'd love to see what you have to say. And if ever any of these talks triggers some other thing that you would like me to respond to, send me a message or type it in the thing, and I'll come turn this machine on and make another little video and comment or respond to anything you want me to talk about, whether I don't know about Q&A, because a lot of what I have to say is not answers, but it's responses. So please feel open to do that. See you later. Have a nice day, everybody, says Nicholas. Yes, have a nice day. If it's evening where you are, have a nice evening. If it's tomorrow morning, have a nice tomorrow morning. Okay? Thank you for playing. And remember,
nice karmas.
Have really nice karmas. Have good karmas. Filled with awareness. If it's filled with awareness, then even when the bad karma is coming to you, like your computer is broken, with awareness, even when the computer is broken, Atman is still there.
We know what the problem there is. We just haven't prayed enough to the computer gods.
We haven't prayed enough to the computer gods. Oh, Lord of the computer gods. Anyway, those famous, infamous words, Om Tat Sat. Om, that's what's happening. That's the happening thing. People do, what is it that people do? They do like, you know, Om Tat Sat. Is that what they do? Or there's a gesture.
I think this. You have to stick out your thumb.
You have to stick out your thumb. It has two different meanings.
Yeah, it has.
Om Tat Sat. How's that? Am I a modern guy now? Om Tat Sat. Or as we used to do in the city, oh, peace, man. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. There you go, Leela. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Okay. Thank you for playing. Thank you for hanging out. Bye-bye. Om.